No. Wait a minute. No. I didn't say she had brain damage. She had a serious health episode. And my point was that from, I think it was the 7th of December in 2012 through the 7th of January of 2013, she underwent, first she had apparently a serious virus. They announced then on the 15th of December that she had at some period in the past a week fallen. They didn't say when, they didn't say where. She was recovering at home. On the 30th of December, she goes in and turns out to have had a blood clot. They won't say where. The next day they say it is between her skull and her brain behind her right ear.
All right, folks, Karl Rove clarifying. The reports earlier today were that he said that Hillary Clinton had brain damage. There's no tape of that. That was at a private event, and now he's explaining that on the Fox News channel, saying, no, I didn't say that. Here's what I said. And he went on to say that this will be an issue. Health is always an issue. Usually they provide their health records, the candidates. And he held up a story from the New York Times about John McCain when he was running, how his age and health could be an issue and will be an issue. So it's not unique to Hillary. Joining us now to talk about that and so much more is John McLaughlin, the man in charge over at McLaughlin and Associates, respected political strategist and pollster, of course. Hey, John, great to talk to you again.
Steve, great to be back here.
Well, I appreciate it. All right, so before we get to, let me ask you, I mean, straight ahead, will Hillary's age and health and the diagnosis of a blood clot somewhere near the brain, will that be an issue if she runs?
Well, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not qualified.
No, but you're a pollster. I mean, will that be?
It's one of those things like where, as long as she's out in public and she's operating in a full capacity, people won't have an issue with it. And other than this report, I really don't know. I mean, people, when you look at people will make comparisons to her and Ronald Reagan when he was elected about their age, and certainly, a lot of liberals have disparaged Reagan because he was his age after he had, even after he had a successful presidency. I think with Secretary Clinton, it's more a factor of, okay, will she do the usual things that candidates do when they release medical records or don't release medical records? Does it raise questions? So I think here what the interesting part, though, no more to the point about the committee, when she was saying she couldn't testify because she'd hit her head, et cetera.
Right.
I think a lot of people are more likely to believe that was a convenient reason not to testify, and it was an issue, was she really hurt or not? Because what's more important is, we did surveys say last September for SecureAmericaNow.org, where the majority of Americans thought that the president and it would include Secretary Clinton and the administration were lying about Benghazi. So when we were asking people about the idea of, do you think that the administration was being honest about Benghazi, or were they trying to cover up the facts? 63-29, all Americans said they weren't telling the truth; they were covering up the facts.
Right.
And I think with the release of the emails, it's even gotten higher. And 62% of all Americans back then thought it was important to have this select committee that the Republicans have now created. So I think, I don't know what Karl knows that I'm not privy to any health information on Secretary Clinton, but I think the fact is most Americans, I think, took it at the time that they weren't being honest and they weren't telling the truth. And it wasn't really related to their health as much as a deficiency with their integrity.
Right. So to carry it, what you're saying further, and again, as a pollster and as a political advisor and strategist, when push comes to shove, we're hearing, I love when Democrats warn Republicans to try to help them. We're hearing warnings, and we're hearing from people like George Will and others not to go too far in these Benghazi hearings. You're going to martyr Hillary right into the White House, et cetera. Do you think the American public care enough to want the answers from Hillary and everybody else?
I think absolutely they do. We've seen that in our surveys. And I think what the Democrats are the people right now, they expect, people, it's sad, but people think the government's not being honest with them. 7 out of 10 Americans in our surveys are telling us that their fundamental rights and their liberties are being violated. They think the government's invading their privacy, their health care, their rights of religion, own gun. Many of the First Amendment rights and the Bill of Rights, they think this government's violating. And so when it comes to Benghazi specifically, they think that the Obama administration and Secretary Clinton weren't being honest with them, and so they want to get to the truth, because when you have Americans serving overseas, serving their government, whether as civilians or in the military, you'd like to know that our government with the military might would be there to back them up, and that wasn't the case in Benghazi.
So one more, and then we'll move on. So you think that Hillary's testimony, if she testifies before the Select Committee, will be important, and she will have a lot of explaining to do to convince the American public or apologize or whatever, but it will be important for her going forward in the campaign, correct?
If she testifies again and she wants to be commander-in-chief, she better have a good explanation why they didn't do more to save these Americans' lives, and that's going to be critical to. It's probably even more important to her future than to what's happened in the past. It was, at this point, it looks like there was a mistaken judgment in the Obama administration. That was a severe mistake. Yeah. But you can't go back and undo that. On the other hand, but we need to know that this is never going to happen again. All
right, let me ask you, John. You've said that the Republicans need an alternative to Obamacare. Are you saying that they need an alternative to Obamacare, to run on heading into the midterms, or that eventually they need one?
Well, you're referring to an article we wrote for National Review Online.
Right.
That's also on our website, McLaughlinOnline.com. That we basically found in our last month's survey that the Republicans have been running a point or two behind the Democrats on the generic ballot. We were trailing 43-41. The difference is, and there's about 20% of the electorate disapproves of the job Obama's doing, because he had a 52 disapprove, but are not voting for Republicans for Congress. So the majority disapprove the job Obama's doing. It's tied to the fact that they disapprove of Obamacare, because you had an almost identical number, 51 to 45, they disapprove of Obamacare. And when you gave them a choice that the Republicans would have a new plan to repeal and replace Obamacare, they were telling us that they approve of that 63-21, and that they're more likely to vote for Republicans 48-17, and that when you said the Republicans stand for repealing and replacing Obamacare versus the Democrats who would keep and fix it, they voted now Republicans on a generic ballot 47-43. So we go from a -2 to a +4. It's a 6-point movement, which is big nationally on a national survey like that. So there's more upside for the Republicans electorally in November if they have a popular alternative to Obamacare, where, say, for example, they allow you to buy insurance across state lines, they expand health savings accounts, they limit medical malpractice costs. They really put in a plan that will lower or keep control of health care costs, and also give the patient or the individuals control of their own health care again, instead of having it mandated by the government.
Okay. Aside from that, if that does not happen, if they just ride, the train they're on, and try to coast in with the Benghazi hearings, with the horror stories of Obamacare, with the postponements, unilateral postponements of all the mandates, because let's face it, Obama isn't an idiot, and if he had let those employer mandates go through, then about 80 million people would have been losing their insurance right as they went to the ballot box this year. But if they just ride this train, do you still see them taking the Senate and holding strong and increasing in the House?
I think it's less assured, because the House we're going to keep. The question is, how many more seats do we add?
Right.
And if we have an alternative, I think, and what's also in that same survey, we asked the question about, all things being equal, you're more likely to vote for a Democrat who will help Obama pass his agenda, or a Republican who will be a check and balance on Obama. And the majority of voters through 2010 and 2012 wanted the check and balance. It closed up in the survey 42-47, where people are ahead of the game. They're saying, Obama's a lame duck. He's not going to be there much longer. What do you guys stand for? They do like the fact they've kept the Republican majority there precisely to keep him in check. But now they're saying, What do you stand for?
Right, right.
And you saw this in our firm. My brother Jim was the pollster for David Jolly in Florida 13. We won that special election, and Jolly had the repeal and replace message.
Right, right. Well, it's going to be very interesting going forward, and we didn't even talk about immigration, which is another monkey wrench that could, if Boehner insists on getting something done, could keep a lot of conservatives home for the midterms. I really don't think he'd be that stupid, but hey, stupidity abounds sometimes, and you never know.
Well, I'll come back when you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely do that very soon. And John, great to talk to you, sir. And the website again?
Steve, McLaughlinonline.com.
Great. All right, John.
Steve, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you. John McLaughlin, ladies and gentlemen. He's always had the information. He knows his stuff inside out. Very successful. One of the most successful political strategists and pollsters in the country. Very interesting. I don't think they're going to come up with an alternative by November. It's already the summer. On the Steve Malzberg Show.